is the reemergence of suppressed fantasy play that should have taken place at between, say, 3 and 5. That's been suppressed by the imposition of technological artifacts like television and phones, and by the absence of free play among children who are hyper-supervised.
Oh, that kind of makes sense though. So you don't express yourself because you were watching the TV. Yes, because as a kid, you express yourself normally a lot. Hey guys, what's up? It's me again, Meat Puppet, just chilling over here finding stuff to watch. Today we're going to watch Jordan Peterson, so it might be a long one. This time he's going to talk about transgenderism. I found the clip and I was like, it's the latest of the latest. He has just been on Joe Rogan's podcast, and the fact that he's going to talk about it might be very interesting. Let's do this.
No, I actually have a relatively feminine personality structure because I'm pretty high in negative emotion and I'm pretty high in agreeableness. And that's the typical feminine structure. And that's an interesting discussion to have too, because, we have this idea in our culture that you can be a woman born in a man's body. And that's not true. But you can definitely be a man with a feminine personality structure.
Yep.
Like 10% of men are as feminine in their personality as the average woman is.
I was one of them. I didn't have any hair on my body. I didn't grow a mustache or pubic hairs until I was almost like 18. I had such a feminine voice that even at 18, when I picked up the phone, some people thought I was a woman. It just is what it is. I still felt manly. I just felt more... I was kind of like a Michael Jackson. That's it. But they still saw me like a man. Nobody told me like, oh, you're a woman. They joked about it, but... it is what it is. It might change in the future, right?
And vice versa. 10% of women are as masculine in their personality as the average man is.
Yeah, some tomboys.
You can move those boundaries around and say, well, it's 5% and 40 or something. It doesn't matter. But the point is, there's plenty of men who are as feminine in their personality as the average woman.
True.
That doesn't mean they're in the wrong body. It just means that men and women are more alike than different, even though they are different, and that there's huge range within both genders. And we need to know that. Right now, if you look at teenagers, for example, who want to switch genders, 95% of them are unbearably confused. That's what's causing that. And I think there's other reasons too.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it. I mean, it's not happening to me. But I've met a few non-binary people that try to switch, and I'm not saying it's going well. They're trying their best, but a lot of them, even if you acknowledge them in a certain way, I realize that it's a start, but still they're not that happy. Because I can understand there's so many things that you can put in your body, and even a lot of people can agree with you, but there comes a point that you're not like in this friend's ring. It's like you start becoming an adult. People have stuff to do. And you're gonna realize that my purpose can't be that people have to acknowledge me. It's like you're growing up, you're becoming more lonely. Everybody is becoming more lonely because you're more focused on your purpose, and let's just say your friend ring is closing down, It's become smaller. And a lot of people like, I'm suffering depression, I'm this and that, and they suffer it a lot because even if they want to change, sometimes the way they talk to me, even if I support them, they don't give me the feeling that they're happy anyway. They just want me to understand that they're struggling in a battle, but hey, I'm doing what everybody says in the mainstream because I don't know what the heck is happening. Because I've seen a lot of girls decide to be transgender men or non-binary or whatever, tomboys, only to be like, I just feel more safe in this version, and I thought I have to be like a man gangster. And I'm like, but didn't your mom go to a military or something like that? Oh, is your mom a gangster is she a tomboy? No, she's kind of feminine. Well, why do you think you have to feel that gangster? I'm not saying that you can't. All I'm saying, just because you have more manly features, it does. Yes, I don't. That doesn't mean I don't see you as a woman. So I still respect you, because by your definition right now, I should see all my aunties that's body change in a manly way. I don't see them suddenly like my uncle. No, they're still my aunties, even if their body designed in a different way. It happens to certain people. It happens to certain women and men. There's no need to label them. If you feel comfortable as a woman in a man's looking body, you're just a woman with manly features. I don't see why you have to change it, because I don't think your identity is what you're going to change. It should be something on the inside. And I don't think anybody is becoming happier. Like, for example, certain women change or operate their body parts to get acknowledgement. I know this is a very dangerous place, what I'm talking about, but I'm not comparing you to a boob job. All I'm saying is external satisfaction on your body in my life, from friends and everything. Oof, whoa. It didn't make all my friends happy though.
This is a conjecture. When the trans teenagers came after me when I opposed Bill C-16 in Canada on compelled speech grounds, I spent quite a bit of time watching them. I already kind of knew about that fluid identity crowd. So when I was at Harvard, piercing and tattooing started to become a cultural rage. And I was interested in, well, who's doing this? Because I knew it was a practice that was limited to criminal subtypes and outcasts for a long time. So
yeah, back in the day, because back in the day, if you had a tattoo, everybody thought you were like, oh, they said like the guys on those gangster bikes, Harley Davidson and those stuff, or you might be selling drug or something like that, or you earned it in the prison. You know how it is, right? So it was very negative if you even showed your tattoo. Now it's kind of cool, but back in the day it was like really bad. But now we have this weird cultures of a bunch of people that looks really beautiful, and then suddenly, bram, they tattoo themselves, they tattoo their eyes, and I'm like, girl, I know you were maybe fighting a supposed feminine situation. You didn't like how people viewed you, because you didn't want to be the image that people look at you like the feminine blonde or something like that. So you decided to, you know what, I'm going to create my own identity, and I don't mind that. But if everybody kind of regret the tattoos that I put on their body, I don't want to even imagine all the changes that you did. I don't know for who, to prove that you're a gangster. And then you might regret it one day. Because even if you hate your mom because you don't want to be like your mom, you're still a reflection of your mom, because you're basing your life on the idea of the people that you hate. You're not basing your life in the idea of how you love yourself.
For example, if you worked in the circus, you were likely to be tattooed, and you toured around the circus, and that was a kind of carny life, and it was an outsider life. And if you were a prisoner, same thing. But then all of a sudden it started to make its inroads into the popular culture. So we studied a group of early adopters of tattooing and piercing from the perspective of personality. Like, who are these people? And they were all highly creative people.
Okay.
Well, and creativity is a trait, and all people who aren't creative, that's wrong. In fact, most people aren't creative at all. And I can explain that later, but they're not. We developed a scale called the Creative Achievement Questionnaire, which assesses lifetime contribution to 13 different creative domains. And that your scores would range from 0, I have no training or talent in this area, to, I think it was 8, I'm an internationally recognized expert in this area. Right? And so 70% of people, if you sum their scores across all 13 domains, scored 0. And I ask audiences, like, how many portraits have you painted?
Wow.
0. How many songs have you composed? 0. How many plays have you written? 0. How many recipes have you invented?
Let me stop you.
So the tattooed types are high. They were high in creativity.
Okay.
And a lot of these people who are fluid in their identity are actually high in trait openness, and they do have fluid identities.
Okay. So these creative people usually want to express themselves, which also means those gangster people from back in the day in the 80s with the tattoos, they usually want to express that, hey man, I'm not part of the system, rawr, you know? And it seems that people that wants to express their gender, that are very fluid, I mean, it's normal. If you have a lot of creative idea and you want to represent your identity, you're gonna express it. It makes sense. But it also means that if you have the possibility to do something to your body, you're going to use it. Now, I don't mind if you are creative with your body, but I do mind if you're creative with something that's permanent on your body. You know? Because whatever you do, you can't change it back. And even if you're creative, which is beautiful, there are too many decisions that I've made when I was 16, 18, or even before that I'm like, damn, I was a very stupid person. And I know it might piss you off, but you can only understand them once you reach 40. I'm not saying you're not intelligent. I never said that. If you're a transgender man or woman and you're just trying to have an idea why people think different about you. It's just that, let's say for example, you're here in a triangle, right? And there's a bunch of triangles everywhere. Wherever you start, you might feel that you're intelligent. Because you're like, I know I'm going up and I'm going to finish the triangle. That is true. But the older you get, you're gonna have an idea when the triangle might reach a point of clarity that you might wake up. It's not that you don't do it better than me. All I'm saying is that maybe once you reach the point that's going to make you happy, when every idea of yours gets together, maturity and everything, there comes a point you're gonna be like, wait a second. This is not something I thought was gonna happen. That's why as a person, I'm very careful about the things I wish I want to do to make me happy. Because almost every time I reach them, I wasn't happy anymore. One of the main things that makes me super happy is my kids. I love these people. I love them so much. And if they're happy, I will sleep 3 hours a day just to see them happy for a better tomorrow. I just like investing in them.
And some of them are feminine men and masculine women. So yeah, but that doesn't mean that surgery is the cure for that. That it does not mean that. I knew a kid in Toronto who was on the autistic spectrum, and a lot of the people who are manifesting serious issues with gender identity are on the autistic spectrum.
This is like Abigail Schreier's work.
Yeah.
As an autistic son, I have one. I can see how my son tries to copy other kids, and I try to push him to learn what other kids do. I treat him hard like other kids so he can feel that he's part of the group, and I don't leave him out. Because if I hug him every time and make him feel comfortable, I realize that he cries even more. But when I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Wake up, stop that. Look at me. We need to do this correctly. And I can see that he might be crying. What? And I'm like he's faking it because he's creating an identity based on how I treat him. And sometimes I need to snap him out of it, let him play with kids. Even if he learns slower, I have the hope that his triangle will reach the same point as other kids, but at a later stage. You know, and he's doing great at school. Even the teachers are like, what the heck are you doing with your kid? My kid doesn't need a helper at the school. He does everything with the other kids. He swims. He can do things better than other kids. And he plays the drum amazingly well. But sadly, he just has a lot of issue to express himself. So I need to push him. But a lot of these kids' parents don't have the time to teach them this stuff. So when they can't feel identified with other kids, but they want to express themselves, they will find anything to make them feel comfortable. It's kind of weird that a lot of kids that are gender fluid, they are on the autistic spectrum. So I think people need to start thinking about the choices these kids make to impress people instead if they're trying to impress themselves. Because most of these kids, they don't have the parents that focus on them. I've been talking to a few autistic kids. They even told me, yes, my parents, they never played with me. I'm like, what? I'm not saying that it's the reason you're a transgender, but I do believe that's the reason why you might be a little more confused in what makes you happy, you know?
dysphoria amongst women.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing, the rapid onset. That's more like, so part of the reason I objected to Bill C-SOX 16 to begin with was because I knew full well as a clinician that as soon as we messed with fundamental sex categories and changed the terminology, we would fatally confuse thousands of young girls. I knew that because I knew the literature on psychological contagion. And it stretches back like 500 years, that literature, 300 years. It's all outlined in a book by Henri Ellenberger called History of, what's the name of the book? History of Psychoanalytic Ideas. It doesn't matter. It's Henri Ellenberger and it's his main work if you want to look it up.
I've been telling my wife one time, I'm sorry that I'm pausing so many times, it's not my idea, but there's so many things I want to talk about, is that, look, as a lady, I believe you are treated softer than men. Men is like, oh, flip, you fell, get up. A lady falls, oh, poor thing, right? There's a weird way that you treat them in a very beautiful way. But we are in a generation that everybody is so privileged at the same level. I think the world is equal right now. But if you treat somebody like a queen for a very long time, but then you throw him into the system where everybody is much more aggressive than back in the day. Back in the day, something bad happened at school, go home, life is Gucci. But now you go home, you're still on social media, and girls are very social, they talk a lot more, things are going to get crispy, you get my attention, and once they receive the huge amount of stress that men can also receive, but men is already, they have a defense mechanism because daddy treats them like a gangster. If girls are not treated like a gangster, like afraid to disappoint their father or something like that, once the stress kicks in, it does not surprise me a lot of girls' identity issue is going to be, amen, I need to change something because the social acceptance is too important. And if I can escape by changing my gender, woo! There's so many girls are changing gender to pretend to be more well, not pretend, but to feel more masculine because they're not comfortable being a feminine woman.
I also think, by the way, that part of what we're seeing in late adolescence with this insistence on the primacy of felt identity is the reemergence of suppressed fantasy play that should have taken place at between, say, 3 and 5. That's been suppressed by the imposition of technological artifacts like television and phones and by the absence of free play among children who are hyper-supervised.
Oh, that kind of makes sense though. So you don't express yourself because you were watching the TV. Yes, because as a kid, you express yourself normally a lot. My sons, both of them talk to me a lot. I don't let them watch the screens a lot. So they need to, I try to take them out consistently because I realize that the moment I give my son a phone and we have to remove it or whatever, they flip. They start get angry very quickly. I'm like, whoa, where did this anger come from? Punished. We're not doing this anymore. And you can see it in their face. They was about to cry like, whoa, no, my reality, bro. Wait, no, Papa. Okay, I'm nice now. I'm like, no, you can't do this. I'm not gonna give it to you. This is not a, this is a dictate. I'm a dictator. You can't stop crying and be like, I'm just gonna give it to you. That's it. We're gonna have fun though, but we're gonna do something different together. I gave you the phone because you were a nice, chill kid. But I can't give you the phone. You get frustrated because it doesn't work. You don't even ask me anything to help you properly. And then you come at me angry and you almost drop the phone because it's a stupid phone. I'm like, nah, you can't do that. And you need to be there as a parent. But a lot of parents don't have that time. I know, but then again, I'm like, why did you make the baby then?
So the fantasy play is imperative to develop your identity by trying out a bunch of different patterns of behavior
yes,
and
exactly.
ways to be.
Yes, so when my son was about
this is interesting.
2, his sister was about 3 and had a little gaggle of friends, and they used to dress him up like a fairy princess. And this didn't happen for like years. It happened for a couple of weeks, and he was playing along. And I went down there, and I'm a Northern Albertan, and so the gender roles there were fairly finely defined. And I was watching this, I thought, is it really a good thing that he's like got wings on, a little fairy hat and a wand and a dress? Is that okay? And I talked to Tammy about it. I said, the girls are dressing Julian up like a princess. And it kind of, I have qualms about it, but I but I'm not sure what to do. Because he was having a good time and he was playing with the girls, and I only had qualms for like about 2 hours. I went and thought about it. I thought, okay, what's going on here? Well, he's playing with the girls. Okay, should he play with girls? Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. He should play with girls. Absolutely. Adult males should play with women. Like, we should be able to play with people of the opposite sex. Like, so he's learning to play with the girls. Good. Is he enjoying it? Yes. Are they bullying him? No. Are the girls enjoying it? Yes.
All part of the package, so you're not gonna stop.
That's all good. Okay, so what does it mean he's playing at being a girl?
Usually, wait. Usually, they just want to feel like they're a king. They just enjoy the power. They don't even see the princess or the king or the prince or whatever, you know, the queen. It's just they just want to play as that power and see how it feels. They're kids. They're just having fun. They don't see that. Because my son was dressed like a princess. When I asked him, what did you do today? Papa, I was a king. I had power. That's it. Kids see it in a different way. We are the ones enforcing it in their face sometimes. And depending on our anger at that moment, you might make it even worse. Because the more you push a kid in a different direction, where he can't understand why he tried to dress like a princess, the more he will get fixated on the thing, and you're gonna be like, oh man, my kid is weird. No, you're acting weird, and he's becoming a reflection of your anger or frustration.
Oh, he's trying to understand what it means to be a girl.
Yeah.
Well, how do you understand that when you're 3 or maybe when you're 50? You play at it, which means you allow that pattern of being to inhabit you and you experiment with it. Now, a lot of older transgender types, the late onset types, they're playing. They just don't know it. Now, there are often people who have a kind of a rigid identity, and part of their escape from that rigid identity is to develop some of the characteristics that are typical of the opposite sex. They need it. Yeah, well, they derive
That's actually
sexual
interesting.
pleasure. They would get turned on by seeing themselves in the clothes of women.
Yes.
Or feeling it.
Yes.
But I think the sexual instinct is directing them towards personality expansion. I look at it in Jungian terms. So part of the process of personality expansion in the deep psychoanalytic sense is first you're a persona, or first you're nothing. Then you develop a persona, which is a way of presenting yourself in a socially acceptable way to the world. And maybe you confuse yourself with your persona. Now, you've had conversations with people on your podcast who are stiff and you can't get a dynamic conversation going. That's because they're acting out their persona. You're not really talking to them. You're talking to an act that they've constructed.
Okay.
An act that they've constructed to make themselves socially acceptable to the world. It can be anxiety too, but then often under anxious conditions, people will revert to their persona because it's a well-rehearsed set of routines,
Right.
and that they know is socially acceptable.
Yeah. So that means actually the persona that I created was that I'm a very nice guy, very patient, very forgiving, very compliant, and I did all those stuff at it for a very long time, and I was considered a very chill, later masculine guy, but just a usual nice guy with good advice, especially related to kids and father. But that was the image that I was expressing. But if I have to be honest, deep down inside, I didn't care about nobody, because the image that I created has become my prison. Because whenever I removed that image, everybody was not happy about it. And once I got MS, that is the moment I was like, okay, people, I gotta stop. This is killing me. I can't do this anymore. I had a good reason. It's a coward move, but I had to take it at a coward moment, because I knew if I don't do this now, one day the MS will do something crazy and my whole body might be paralyzed. I'm not gonna entertain that. And I believe that sometimes certain beautiful ladies or feminine men, you have that mask and you just have to take it off and live your life. Some people do it early, some people do it very late. But some people don't change it, but they actually change their body with drugs and anything, tattoos. And that can be bad, because the day you want to take off your mask, man.
Acceptable. Okay, so for the Jungians, the first step outside the persona
Jungians
was the
meaning
shadow.
Carl Jung.
Jung, followers of Carl Jung, or students of better terminology, was discovery of the shadow. Oh, I thought I was the good person here, but it turns out that I've got like some darkness. And you often see this with, imagine you have hyper-compassionate people who are dependent, and they won't engage in conflict, so they're always oppressed.
Me?
So then when you talk to them, you
Just
find
what they
out they're
talk about.
really, really resentful, and they have a lot of fantasies of revenge, like a lot.
Yes, I believe. Yes, I had so many revenge stories in my head. A good amount of story. I fantasized about those stories humongously. It's quite dark. The only thing is, the only issue I had was that whenever I won any of these battles in my dreams, I was not happy. I became sadder because in the end, the only thing my heart kept telling me, if I win in this battle, if I kill this dragon or whatever, this dragon is now dead. And maybe this dragon might have a baby, which represents me, that didn't have a mom since I was 6 years old.
And so then you work with them and you think, okay, you have something to say and do here. You've got some harsh words to say, maybe to your partner. You've got some things to say to your boss. You got to spine up and say it. And that's part of incorporating that, especially aggression. So agreeable people, compassionate people don't like aggression. But like, that's like not liking sex.
Yeah, but you need to get it out.
But it's necessary. And so you want to integrate it. And if you don't, it has its own life. You know, you see people all the time who, they're so nice. You can't even be in the same room with them. They're that nice. But they're resentful and passive aggressive. They take it out in all sorts of ways, partly because they're always unhappy. They're often moralistically judgmental. They're not saying what they have to say. They got to integrate that shadow. So that was part of it. And the shadow consists of, in part, all the things about you that you've deemed morally unacceptable and failed to develop. And so sometimes that's aggression, often. Sometimes it's sexuality, often. And so it'll manifest itself in impulsive, aggressive sexuality, say under conditions of alcohol intoxication, when it leaks out.
What's happening to certain people that are transgender, it's like the creative part, they could never really enjoy it when they were very creative. They reach an age they can be creative, and now they explore it at a level that makes it permanent. A lot of people give kids their phone. Even if you're going to be like, I don't think that is. I'm like, you have no idea how many kids have a phone these days and how comfortable I am with my kids and they are not. Surprisingly, people ask me, why your kids don't like phone? I'm like, I never give them the phone. I'm their phone. That's my job. And they look at me like I'm a weird person. And I'm like, it's not that. It's like the phone is just so satisfying. My kids don't watch a lot of Netflix. You know why? Because if they watch a normal TV, the show that comes, you're gonna watch. It's random. The fact that if you get them used watching the same show, Netflix, this, whatever they want, they believe life is gonna be like that. Instant gratification. That's freaking dangerous. I don't want to do that to my kid. And it's just interesting. I found it very interesting though that kids on the phone wants to express themselves once they're bigger, but when they express themselves, they might change their body, which can be permanent. And then you already labeled yourself in a certain way and you're ashamed if you had to stop. So you walk with a permanent effect on your body that you could not finish it. So you're a failure. So you have to keep that image up to represent something, which I think is dangerous, which would not surprise me by my dumb psychoanalytical whatever. Look, I might be a very dumb man. Maybe I'm talking bullcrap. But if the puzzle that I'm trying to express is correct, I think you know where I'm going, which doesn't surprise me. They snip themselves, you know? It's bad. I wish there was another way. But anyway, I'm going to finish this right here. Hope you guys found the commentary interesting. Remember to put a like, comments, hit the bell and everything. I'm bouncing between long videos and short videos, but this interesting video where it makes me talk, hey man, if you like me, see me ramble stuff like this, because sometimes they say I have interesting opinions, let me know and stay in touch, okay? See you guys next time. Peace.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Put the fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam. Turlo que ta verde ta welcome. Den bieden me a tu initiativa.